You're standing in the grocery store on an ordinary Tuesday, cart half full, when you notice the shelves are empty, not one or two items, all of it. The rice aisle, bare. The canned goods, stripped. People are moving fast, eyes wide, phones out. You drive home past a gas station with a line around the block and a sign on the pump that says, cash only. You walk through your front door, open your pantry, and ask yourself the question nobody ever wants to answer. Do I have enough to feed my family if the shelves don't get restocked next week? If you can't answer that with confidence, this video is for you. Today, I'm counting down 12 foods every serious prepper needs to store before the next supply chain disruption hits. And it will hit. Number 1 might be the most important investment you ever make. Let's get into it. At number 12, we have white rice. And before you roll your eyes at something this obvious, hear me out. Because most people are storing it completely wrong, and that mistake will cost them everything. White rice stored in a standard bag from the grocery store has a shelf life of about 2 years. That same rice, vacuum sealed in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, lasts 25 to 30 years. Same food, completely different outcome. A 50-pound bag of long-grain white rice costs between $25 and $35 and delivers roughly 80,000 calories. That's 4 to 5 months of emergency carbohydrate fuel for one person. Agricultural Extension data consistently ranks white rice as the highest calorie per dollar storage food available to the average household. But if you're storing it in original packaging in a warm garage, you're not preparing. You're wasting money. At number 11, honey earns its place as one of the most miraculous substances in any emergency pantry. And the value it brings in a crisis goes way beyond sweet. Teaning your morning oats. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still perfectly edible. That is not hyperbole. That is documented history. A single quart jar of raw honey runs $12 to $18 at most farmers markets, and it serves as a natural wound antiseptic, a cough suppressant, a caloric boost, and a powerful barter item. When sugar disappears from store shelves, and in a prolonged disruption it will, raw honey becomes extraordinary currency. One homesteader in rural Tennessee documented trading a single gallon of honey for 4 months of fresh eggs during a regional emergency. The math on that trade is staggering. Moving into number 10, dried beans. Lentils, black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. Pick your variety because each one is a nutritional powerhouse hiding behind a humble exterior. 1 pound of dried beans yields roughly 6 cups of cooked product and costs under $2. That same pound delivers 25 grams of protein, 60 grams of complex carbohydrates, and 30% of your daily iron. Here's the storage secret most preppers learn the hard way. Dried beans older than 5 years become almost impossible to soften no matter how long you cook them. The proteins harden permanently. Sealed in Mylar with oxygen absorbers, beans maintain cooking quality for 8 to 10 years. Get the storage wrong and you've got a bucket of decorative pebbles. At number 9, salt. I know it sounds laughably simple, but let me reframe your thinking here. Salt is the only mineral humans eat directly, and without it, muscle cramps, neurological breakdown, and cardiovascular failure follow within days in a high-exertion survival scenario. Beyond nutrition, salt is a preservation technology that kept civilizations alive for thousands of years before refrigeration existed. Roman soldiers were literally paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. A 25-pound bag of non-iodized sea salt costs under $15 and stores indefinitely if kept dry. Stock it for preservation, for flavor that keeps morale intact, and for barter. In a long-term disruption, salt becomes one of the most sought-after commodities imaginable. Don't underestimate it. Number 8 is the prepper food most people have genuinely never considered: hard winter wheat berries, not flour, the whole grain itself. Here's why this distinction matters enormously. Wheat flour goes stale and rancid within 6 to 12 months. Hard winter wheat berries, Properly sealed, store for 25 or more years without losing nutritional value. And unlike flour, whole wheat berries can be sprouted, giving you fresh, living greens packed with vitamins even in the dead of winter with no sunlight and no garden. A 50-pound bucket of hard red wheat berries runs around $40 to $55. You can grind it into flour, sprout it for salads, cook it whole like rice, or ferment it. 4 uses from one food. A farming family in Kansas has reportedly grown the same strain of hard winter wheat on their property since 1887, cycling harvest seeds year after year. That kind of generational self-reliance is exactly what this food makes possible. At number 7, rolled oats are the quiet overachiever of long-term storage. And most preppers sleep on them completely. A 42-ounce canister at the grocery store costs $3 to $4. Sealed in mylar with oxygen absorbers, rolled oats maintain quality for 20 or more years. A single pound of dry oats is 1,700 calories, delivers 13 grams of protein, and provides enough soluble fiber to keep digestive health stable during the stress of an emergency. University of Minnesota research has documented oats' role in reducing cortisol levels, the stress hormone, during caloric restriction. That matters psychologically when things get hard. Stock 30 to 60 pounds minimum per adult in your household and you've covered hundreds of breakfasts for under $100. Number 6. Powdered milk. Specifically, non-fat dry milk or whole-fat powdered milk sealed in nitrogen-flushed cans. This is where families with children cannot afford to cut corners. A number 10 can of powdered milk costs $14 to $20, reconstitutes into roughly 6 gallons of milk, and in sealed commercial cans carries a shelf life of 25 years. Calcium, vitamin D, and complete protein, critical for children's development, can completely disappear from a family's diet in a prolonged crisis without this one item. The USDA recommends a 30-day supply as a minimum baseline. Most serious preppers store 90 days or more. The difference between those two numbers could determine whether your kids stay healthy or decline. At number 5, canned wild-caught fish. Not just any canned protein, specifically salmon and sardines, and here's the critical distinction. Sardines packed in olive oil deliver omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, calcium from the soft bones, and roughly 190 calories per can, all for under $2 per can. Wild-caught salmon delivers 30 grams of protein per can at around $3 to $4. Both carry USDA-stamped shelf lives of 3 to 5 years, though documented cases of canned fish being safe and nutritious well beyond a decade are widespread. In a crisis where fresh animal protein disappears entirely, 100 cans of sardines and salmon bought for under $200 represents one of the highest nutritional returns on investment in your entire pantry. A survival nutritionist in Colorado put it plainly, no other canned protein matches the omega-3 profile of small, wild-caught fish. There are no close seconds. Number 4 is apple cider vinegar, and this one earns its place for a reason none of the other foods on this list can match. Raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother intact is a natural antimicrobial, a digestive aid, a wound cleaner, a food preservative, and a weed killer for your garden perimeter. A gallon jug runs $8 to $12 and stores indefinitely. Vinegar does not expire. Documented uses in folk medicine stretch back to Hippocrates, who prescribed it for wound care in 400 BC. When pharmaceutical options run short, when fresh produce causes digestive upset during a dietary transition, when you need to pickle and preserve a garden harvest with no refrigeration, apple cider vinegar is the multi-tool in your food storage. Most preppers never think to add it. The ones who have won't stop talking about it. At number 3, we need to have an honest conversation about hard liquor, not for recreational purposes, for barter and medical utility. A sealed bottle of 80 proof or higher spirits, whiskey, vodka, grain alcohol, stores indefinitely without any degradation. It functions as a wound disinfectant, a fever-reducing agent in extreme situations, a sleep aid under severe stress, and in any barter economy that emerges from a prolonged disruption, it becomes one of the most requested commodities imaginable. A case of mid-shelf whiskey bought today at $200 to $250 could trade for hundreds of dollars in food, labor, or medicine within weeks of a serious supply collapse. Prohibition-era records and post-hurricane community reports consistently document alcohol as a top 5 barter item. Stock it with clear intentions and store it safely, but don't leave it off the list. Number 2. Freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. This is the item most people dismiss as too expensive until they understand what they're actually buying. A can of freeze-dried strawberries might cost $22 to $28. But that can contains the equivalent of 7 or 8 pounds of fresh strawberries, reduced to a shelf-stable product that lasts 25 years, retains 97% of its original nutritional content, and reconstitutes in cold water in minutes. When fresh produce vanishes from supply chains, as it did in multiple regions during the COVID-19 disruptions of 2020 and 2021, people who had freeze-dried vegetables maintained vitamin C, antioxidant intake, and dietary variety. People who didn't developed micronutrient deficiencies within weeks. A comprehensive freeze-dried fruit and vegetable stockpile for a family of 4 runs roughly $600 to $1,000. Spread that purchase over 6 months, and it becomes completely manageable. This isn't luxury prepping, it's nutritional insurance. And number 1, heirloom seeds. I want you to stop and really hear this. Every single food on this list will eventually run out. Every can will be emptied. Every bucket of rice will be scooped to the bottom. Every jar of honey will be scraped clean. Heirloom seeds are the only item in this entire countdown that can feed you indefinitely, in perpetuity, as long as you have soil and water and knowledge of how to use them. An heirloom seed, unlike a hybrid or GMO variety, produces offspring identical to the parent plant, which means every harvest gives you next season's seeds. A comprehensive heirloom seed vault covering 40 to 60 varieties of vegetables, grains, and herbs runs $60 to $150. Some of these seed lines have been saved and passed down for generations. The Cherokee Trail of Tears bean, the Mortgage Lifter tomato, the Glass Gem corn. Each one is a living thread of agricultural history that a family can plant, harvest, save, and replant forever. A homesteading family in Vermont has reportedly grown the same strain of heirloom butternut squash, seed to seed, for over 40 years. That is food sovereignty. That is what number 1 looks like. So there you have it. 12 foods that can stand between your family and a very serious situation. From rice to seeds, from honey to hard liquor, each one earns its place for a specific reason, and together they build a pantry that covers calories, nutrition, preservation, medicine, and long-term self-sufficiency. Smart preppers don't buy everything at once. They add 2 or 3 items per week and build quietly, methodically, before they ever need it. If this gave you a clearer picture of where to start, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down preparedness and self-sufficiency topics like this every week with the same level of detail. And before you go, check out the next video on your screen where I walk through the 5 biggest food storage mistakes that could make your entire stockpile useless when you need it most. You've put in the work to build it. Don't let a preventable error take it away. Preparation isn't paranoia. It's the oldest form of wisdom there is.